gotten away with Josh? You know, who would have really questioned me? You know, it's great to be here in Raleigh. You know, you never hear anyone say it sucks to be here when they're on stage, like, you know, unless maybe they're in Fayetteville or some shit like that. But anyway, sorry, no hate to Fayetteville. But I'm not afraid to talk to you today about the controversial topics of our time, like religion, politics, internet pornography, and OnlyFans. And for those of you that don't know, OnlyFans is kind of like Playboy, but think of like Playboy that went to HBO, and then think of HBO that went to HBO Max, that went to virtual reality, that got monetized and robbed a lot of psychotic people out of their money because they had no self-control. But anyways, that's why I'm going to refrain from discussing the topics of the JCPenney catalog, you know, things that, you know, caused me to blow a MasterCard of $1,000 limit at 3 o'clock in the morning. You can't do that with the Macy's catalog because they use American Express. However, American Express does have the disadvantage of they'll take you to court if you go delinquent. But the cool thing about going to court for that is that you can plead not guilty by reason of insanity, so you can defend yourself. And then at that point, you might get sent to one of those luxurious halfway houses down in Delray Beach, Florida, or Malibu, and you can, you know, get on your social media, your Instagram, post pictures of yourself at the beach with a beautiful woman, and try to, you know, convince people you went to high school with, the woman you made uncomfortable in your 20s, you know, that you've made it in life, ignoring the fact that no one on the internet gives a fuck about you, except for the OnlyFans models.
Woo!
Alcoholics should not drive on the road to recovery. Although it is a pretty cool story to tell the officer. You get pulled over. Where you heading? To recovery. Where you coming from? The beer garden. Sir, this is Glenwood Avenue. Please step out of the vehicle. You were driving in the wrong lane. Well, you know what? That means that, you know, I was going to stop someone from going from recovery to the beer garden, so maybe I was helping save someone's life there. I never did go to AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, because everybody knows I'm an alcoholic. But if I did go, I would get a sponsor. It'd be Jim Beam. Anyways, this may be very hard for you to fathom, but I am a psychiatric patient. I'm an outpatient. That means I got out and they're looking for me. And when you go to the psychiatrist, they ask you a lot of questions, especially the first time. And one of the questions that they may ask you is, are you on the spectrum? Do you have a spectrum disorder? And I'll say, well, you know, I used to have internet and TV bundle with them, but, you know, I've got Roku and Hulu and all that shit now, so I've got them for internet, but I don't have them for cable. You know, how come no one ever asked, you know, why weren't you on the Time Warner disorder? You know, is this some new shit that you're trying to do to bring down the monopoly, you know, try to get in our heads and shit like that? And another question that you might get asked at the psychiatrist is, you know, have you thought about harming yourself today? And I would say, well, it's 9:30 a.m., give us some time. If we did this later in the day, you know, you might get a more honest answer. And another thing that you'll get asked at the psychiatrist is, they'll try to test for dementia, right? So they'll say, who's the current and previous two presidents? That doesn't work so well in the current administration and in the second Grover Cleveland administration. So back, you know, I think they let somebody with dementia go, you know, because they would say Cleveland, Harrison, Cleveland, and, you know, they might have had dementia. And now, if you ask me today, I'll say Trump, Biden, Trump, Larry David couldn't be here tonight. His enthusiasm was stirred more than originally thought. Thank you, Clouds Brewing.